Hello and welcome everyone to Redesign Your Life Today. I'm your host, Daniel Kobryner, mental fitness coach, international motivational speaker, and a passionate believer that transformation is always possible, no matter your age or your story. This podcast is a space for those of you, especially over 40, who feel stuck, off track, or disconnected from who you truly are. If you've ever thought there has to be more to life than that, you are exactly in the right space. Here, we explore how to break through fear, procrastination, and self doubt and reconnect with your purpose, your power, and your truth. You'll hear inspiring conversations with heart centered guests who have experienced real transformation and who now live with intention, freedom, and alignment. Every episode is an invitation to show up more fully, think more expansively, and take bold, soul-aligned steps toward the life you know is waiting for you. So thank you everyone for being there. Let's take a deep breath together, open our hearts, and take bold steps. Because your life is not set in stone, you can redesign it starting right now. And today is a very special day because I've got really a very special guest. This is Pita Marroni. And a few words. Pita is the founder of PEMFIT and the co-founder of Optimal Hydrations Limited, two heart-driven wellness businesses born from his own journey through 3 decades of chronic illness, burnout, and personal reinvention. His recovery sparked a calling to help others reclaim energy, vitality, and the freedom to live with clarity and joy. What started as a garden studio during lockdown has grown into a UK-wide movement, empowering others to redesign their lives from inside out. Peter's message is very simple. We are electrical. When we recharge ourselves, we reclaim our lives. So thank you so much, Peter, for being there. Just in this introduction, redesigning your life. So, Peter, I'd like you to tell our audience a little about your story. You know what? Because there's so much. You and me spoke together. There's so much, but if you just go and just tell us about what's happened in your life.
Well, thank you, Daniel, for the very kind introduction, and thank you to your audience as well. Yeah, I think you've largely sort of condensed a few decades in the introduction, but yeah, life was a struggle. I was a super healthy kid and child right throughout school, very gifted athletically. And it was really an unfair advantage that I had. I was very strong and fast, and I excelled in sport. So I never really gave energy or health or movement any consideration at all. You could say I took it for granted. This is one thing I can do. I can do really well. But then in my late teens, this became a challenge. I started getting strange aches and pains. Um, um, just unusual energy issues, which were, people around me, my parents, my mum in particular, noticed immediately that something wasn't right, sent me off to the doctors, and they did, their absolute best to try and support me, but they were perhaps looking for things that were not detectable, and still, even now, are quite challenging. I was told I had ME, or chronic fatigue syndrome, as it now is. I read an article the other day that the NHS are now, setting a specialist team up in the UK to deal with chronic fatigue syndrome because it's so common. We now deal with consultants in this space, and right at the pinnacle of the space, in Harley Street, and it's everywhere, especially with viruses and so on. But back in those days, in the 80s, it was quite unusual. It was given a pretty negative term that I was told I had. I was told I had yuppie flu by my doctor. And I said, "What's that?" And he said, "Read a newspaper." So I was in my teens and I wasn't reading newspapers, but it probably wouldn't have helped me that much anyway. Anyway, several decades on, I developed lots of chronic diseases. Unfortunately, I was given surgeries that I, in hindsight, didn't really need, according to surgeons that have recently worked on me, to correct some damage done.
Mhm.
Scar tissue, that type of thing. And all the while, from an energy perspective, because the root cause of my issues perhaps were not being addressed, energetically, it was a struggle. I consider myself very lucky because one of the things I was born with lots of is willpower, and willpower, if you have a lot of it and a positive attitude, will get you a long way.
Mhm.
But as I found, it does run out, and for me, it took about, after getting sick, about 3 decades. And in the end, I was told I had something pretty serious, well, very serious, because it was potentially, terminal disease. And I was told that that was bad luck. And I was kind of left on my own. It's like, oh, that's really bad luck. But in the meantime, I describe it as death by a thousand cuts. It wasn't something acute one day that's like, that will finish you. It was a gradual decades, 3 decades plus long period um, of insults to my biology, to my energy. And in the end, it's like, you're on your own. That's bad luck. And unexpectedly, I kind of sat down with a clean sheet because I was on my own. I suppose I'm pretty resourceful. And I
Mhm.
just started reading, diving deep into peer review study. My background is actually management consultancy in
Mhm.
the automotive industry, which was very good to me. I went all around the world. And my background was fixing problems. Companies would employ me to fix a problem, and it was often related to communications within an organization.
Mhm.
And prior to that, my background was of an engineering type. So both of these backgrounds were about, look, find the problem, identify the problem, sort the problem, move on.
Okay. Mhm.
But when I looked at how what had been applied to me, perhaps it was not addressing the root cause of my issues, the functional cause of my issues. It was perhaps looking at treating the symptoms of my issues, which when I started to connect the dots. It didn't really make sense to me.
Wow.
Um,
So this is so you have this for like 3 decades, and then I suppose moving forward or fast forward, the pandemic happens. You're in your so what happens during this time, Peter?
it's an interesting time of life for everybody, I'm sure, and your audience and ourselves included.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um, this was the time I made a bold decision. Um, when I got my health back, when I got my energy back, let's say, let's talk about energy. I got my energy back, and I got rid of perhaps a lot of the bad things in my life that around me that were causing inflammation. Let's just say that.
Mhm.
And I added more of the good stuff, which is all there. I found pretty much everything in PubMed online, in scientific journals. At first I didn't even know that it was happening. It was people around me. But just prior to the pandemic, I was working a lot all over the world. So I started in the UK, further afield in UK, Europe, Central Europe, Northern Europe, Southern Europe, all over Southeast Asia, Japan, China, Singapore, Thailand, Africa, South Africa, the Americas. So, but wherever I went, people were asking me the same question. This is when I got my energy back, and the question was, Peter, in Japan it would be Peter-san. This would be via translators.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah.
What's going on?
Okay.
Because
Uh-huh.
I'd be talking to them about a business issue, and they'd say, "This is great, and we like what you're doing, but we want to know what you're on We want to know why you're always in a good mood, where you get your energy from. We work with you for 5 days. We work with you for 2 weeks. We work with you on a project for a few months. Please
Mhm.
tell us what's going on. This is great, but we want to hear this. And I would say, look, I'm here to do this. So I suppose I started listening to this, mulling it all over. And I think wherever you were in life, the pandemic, good or bad, it was a time for reflection.
Mhm.
It was a time out. And in direct answer to your question, I made a bold decision. I followed my heart. I followed my gut. I followed my intuition. And I decided to do something probably on paper very silly. Uh, I I needed quick solutions for people. I'm quite a disciplined person, and what I found was that the technology that we use on a small scale works, on a grand scale works in a grand way.
Mhm.
And I decided just if I'm going to do this as a business, I believe in getting the right tools for any job and learning how to use them, learning your craft.
Mhm.
We work with energy. I was low in energy. We can all use more energy. Um, and I decided to buy, um, based on intuition, a very expensive system. So it's not a machine; it's a whole system. These things are the size of a room, and I set this thing up in my garden room, and I went from management consultancy in an industry that I was a fellow of the institute for. I had a very good reputation in decades of experience, and I took a massive risk in a space that I thought I knew nothing about, but it turns out I probably knew more than I gave myself any credit for. Not feeling great, not performing as you want. Um, and I went all in. All the chips went in. I fully expected to fail, and it didn't. We got results. I say we, that was me and the client. They showed up. I tried my best to show up for them and support them. We apply the energy. The technology we use, well, first of all, is water, hence the optimal hydration. We hydrate, we're electrical.
Mhm. Mhm.
So we hydrate, and hydration has electrolytes in it. Everything we do is electrical. And then we modulate that with a big, I call it a big nature machine, and it's the biggest PEMF, pulsed electromagnetic field system. It's the most expensive, but it is the best by some margin. And we work on the whole body, and we apply energy to the person, and they start feeling better. Or we worked on dogs yesterday. We work on anything that's a mammal or alive seems to respond to this huge amount of natural energy, but produced by modern wellness technology. So that's it. That's what I did. I went all in. I expected in a few months to be out of business and going back to my safety net was I'll go back and do what I was doing, which I enjoyed. But I followed my heart and launched PEMFIT, subsequently launched Optimal Hydration because that was an aligned business to hydrate. It was something we had from day one. We just decided to do it as a business and support people in the hydration with some solutions, and that's what we did.
Wow. I mean, there's so much there. When I listen to Peter, so, I mean, different words, obviously, which resonate very much with me. And the first one is energy, right? You said that. So even before this, you were with your clients all over the world. Of course, you help them solving their problems, but they saw something in you. They saw something in you. I mean, you had a drive, you had something which really kind of, how do you say, surprised people, right? So it's about, energy. So when they were asking for your secrets, etc. So what's, how how could you kind of perhaps help them with this? So what was, you know, because you realized that perhaps you had something special. So yeah, what was the first step of, passing on to these clients, if I may ask?
It's a good question. Thanks, Daniel. I didn't actually realize I had something special. I suppose I realized I had something I had to do,
Uh-huh.
even if that meant failing. Um, I probably only, this week is a big week for us. We're 5 years in business. So we launched
Congratulations.
five
Wow.
years ago this week.
Wow.
So this is a very significant and highly reflective week for us as a business, for myself, for my colleagues who were amazing, for everyone that supported us, and most importantly for our clients. Because we've grown a lot, and lots of things happen when you grow, especially quickly. Because this started from my garden room, so it's very reflective for us. And I didn't think there was anything special in it. I just followed my heart. I suppose on reflection, and I realized this probably about 2 years ago, what was significant was a client getting a result. And
Hmm.
that I'm I'm probably reasonably smart, but I'm probably quite naive. Um, and I don't see what other people are seeing, even though they're telling me a lot. I had to get out of my own way to see these things, which is strange, but in truth, that's what it was. And what clients were saying is, hey, I feel better. People are asking me around me what I'm doing. I'm not telling them. Some people were not, most people were not. But people around one were saying, what is going on with you? Why are you straighter? Why are you smiling? Why are you acting differently? In many cases, why are you more pleasant to be around? All of this, in my opinion, can be attributed to more energy. Energy is finite. When it's gone in the day, it's gone, and we should listen to our body, and we should go to sleep. We should take a time out. We should go for a walk. We should have a nap. Whatever is appropriate, we should listen. We can't always. This is the world we live in. I certainly can't always. But what was key is a result for a client. Result for me drove a highly engaged audience for me of clients. We call them clients. We're not medical. We're a wellness business. I should also say we don't diagnose, we don't treat, we don't cure anything. We apply body to energy in the form of very high intensity, appropriate PEMF to the body, which there are thousands of peer review studies on. And I'll talk perhaps a little bit later and guide people to our website where they can find information on that. But when you apply energy to the body knows instinctively, intuitively what to do with it, and that's repair. As long as there are no contraindications, um, then this isn't magic. We benefit with cumulative sessions, just like any form of stimuli.
Hmm.
And then clients tend to get results. And that was then you retain them, let's call it client retention. And then they refer you to all their friends because they can't not do, because their friends are saying, what are you doing? So when
Wow.
we
So,
grew, this was a big period of reflection. This is key to what we do. You have to be there for a client. You have to meet them exactly where they're at on any given day. You have to be present, not just when you're with them, but I believe, consciously present for them when you're not with them. I think it makes a difference. And clients got and get results. And then, they go out and tell their world. And that was, it was a latter realization, not something that I knew from the beginning.
okay, wow. This is fascinating. And Pete, can you walk us through a little how it works, with this PEMF? Well, imagine, so, I mean, I've got an issue, my energy is low. Concretely, do I have to lay on a bed and the machine is, how does it work? How does the machine work?
Okay.
How long are the sessions? Just to have some ideas.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to start by talking about nature.
Mhm.
Sorry to go off on a
No,
slight
no,
tangent,
please.
but it's
Of course.
associated.
Very important. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
you don't need a machine to be healthy. I'm going to just say that. It might sound strange, but I have to be realistic here. You don't need a machine. Nature provides most things for us. We're dealing with light. Um, we convert electro. Convert in. We live in the. I live in the UK, so we
Mhm.
have 230 alternating current mains power,
Yeah.
which is useful but is not particularly healthy if we were to apply that to any living thing. um, don't put your fingers in the socket and that
No.
sort of thing. But this technology converts that into what nature puts out, albeit at a lower dose. So the earth is a big grounding mat. Everyone these days knows about grounding. We're electrical. We mentioned this earlier. Everything we do is electrical, but we don't electrify ourselves to boost ourselves up. We actually receive this through light, through daylight. Some of it is visible, some of those frequencies are not.
Okay. Mhm.
Ultraviolet, infrared, things like that. These are invisible. Doesn't mean they're not there. They are there. We're also electromagnetic. So it's nice to be on a Zoom call. It's also nice to have a telephone call, but it's always nicer to be in a room with someone that we are aligned with. It's a word that you used earlier, resonate, frequency and resonance are everything. It's a subconscious thing, but it's important. Sometimes we can feel it and we are conscious of it. This feels good, but being in your community feels good. So what we apply is a lot of nature. So I'm going to caveat this. If people have got time, spend more time in nature, get
Mhm.
daylight on your body. Too much is not good. Too little is not good. So be sensible. People are, when you listen to your gut, and not perhaps, a lot of noise that we have these days. Trust your gut. And how have we lived? How have we got to where we are now? This is what I was not doing.
Mhm.
I was
Okay.
subcontracting all of this
Right.
to
Okay.
other experts, but it wasn't helping me. So in the end, I listened to my gut and I spent more time outside. I moved more. I was exposed to more light. I touched the ground. So I was receiving what we know plus what we don't know, and I was feeling better. So I'm going to say, look, everyone has access to cell voltage just by touching the earth and getting more daylight. Drinking water, tap water is good. What we serve is better because it's the absence of anything bad and it's got optimal amount of what is good. In other words, electrolyte, um, and it's pure. And we're mainly water, so we can't ignore it. So now, in direct answer to your question, what the systems that we have, I started off with a very small device. It's only this big, and I had even though I'd got my health back, a reoccurring problem came back, and it was a frozen shoulder. I was diagnosed decades ago with something called fibromyalgia. This is also very common now. Um, your audience, many of the people watching it, will actually be dealing with fibromyalgia now.
Mhm.
Fibro muscle, myalgia pain. You have muscular pain. Okay, well, what's causing it? At the root level, a lack of energy within the cell. The mitochondria, which, children learn about in secondary school in this country and other countries. This is GCSE level biology. The mitochondria within most of the cells in our body produce energy. This is called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. This was discovered ultimately discovered by Hans Krebs, professor at Oxford University in the 60s. And he actually won, in my opinion, the most prestigious Nobel Prize ever for discovering how mammals produce energy. So this is not fringe science. This is very well established. The
Mhm.
cells taking hydration, taking nutrients in the form of cell voltage, which we derive from nature, And we convert this into electrical voltage and we repair tissue. And we also get to do the things we want to do in life. Be a partner, a colleague, a son, a brother, a sister, a colleague. And this is all, in my opinion, dependent largely on energy to do all of these things better. And our equipment is a big nature machine. So I started with a small machine. I got a result after 3 days. Strangely, the pain in my shoulder went. And when pain goes, it's a strange thing because you're not immediately aware of it. When pain comes, you are. And that's your body's feedback loop of saying, hey, this hurts, do something about it. It perhaps is not saying, this hurts, there's a problem, cover it up, but actually address the root cause. And because I dug into the science of PEMF and it supports the body's ability to repair by, and that is the mechanism whereby the pain went, I realized this, unlike many things I've tried, including in the wellness space, works and works quickly without side effects, negative side effects. And for me, at least, there was nobody speaking eloquently to me, unpacking this complicated technology and saying how you can actually get more. So in the end, I ended up experimenting with lots of different machines. The systems we now have are whole room systems. The biggest, so we have a box that produces the pulse, that's the nature, that's the electromagnetic pulse, which comes from mains power and is converted to direct current, which we operate on, not alternating current. And we also convert electricity into electromagnetic pulses, which replicate what the Earth puts out. So low frequency electromagnetic. And because our biggest accessory is a bed, if you think of this as like a whole body battery recharger, or we have separate accessories which can focus in. I was with a doctor yesterday and they specialize with, they're a sleep doctor, sleep expert, and they have clients that deal with sleep apnea. And I showed her a little accessory that we can put around the esophageal area here, the larynx and pharynx, and we can get energy into this area and thereby stimulate the tissue even more so and support that part of the body's ability to regenerate and recover. So it's a long answer, but
No, but
it's
thank you
also a short answer.
No. Thank you so much, Peter, for that. And something we just kind of clicked on me, which we haven't discussed before. And I'm going just to share something, it's from my side. I had a friend who is a Reiki practitioner, all right? Basically, with Reiki, what you do is really you collect, the electromagnetic wave, which is 7.83 hertz. And then afterwards, what you do is with this, and I've seen it's done on me as well. Actually, with this, you do it on your body, you scan the body, and it resonated so much because it helps recharging each organ, and you can even see because it only discharges where there is a lack of energy in each part of the body. So I think there are a lot of similarities. Am I correct in saying that?
In my opinion, yes.
But I've seen it myself, it's why
Yes.
and I know people, I've seen it, and I was like, wow, it's like,
Yeah.
even somebody, this friend tested on one of my friends as well, who had a fall when he was young, but nobody could knew it, but
Mm,
she could see it just by scanning. So, oh, we had something there. So
yeah.
I'm just, so what you said, it's like, wow, but what you are, so I'm just mentioning it. You see, it's perhaps a surprise to you, but it's like, wow, it's a lot of, I mean, it resonates with me. Yeah.
It's a nice surprise because you're very sensitive to your environment, if I may say so, Daniel. And You mentioned that you've seen it. Perhaps you've also felt it if your friend has actually worked on you.
No, she's worked on me. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so you've
Yeah, yeah.
also felt it as
Of
well
course,
as seen it
I
in
felt it. Yeah, yeah.
others. So it sounds quite wishy-washy, but and I've got to admit, when we opened the doors, I was very much in the scientific, in the textbook, in the medical peer review study mind, and then we started getting Reiki practitioners in, Reiki masters. We started getting shamanic healers in. We started getting people. We started getting acupuncturists in. And I knew a little bit about it, especially with acupuncture. And this is ancestral wisdom. We've known for thousands of years,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, that we are not just electrical, but we're also electromagnetic. I mentioned it earlier. Our heart emits an electromagnetic field. This is measured in universities that have the equipment. The equipment's called squib machines or squib devices, and they can actually measure this field, which is it looks like a donut shape. I have a book, not here, right next to me.
I've heard about this machine. Yeah.
Yeah, and the front cover actually
Yes.
has this. It looks like a donut. It emanates from the heart. I think it's canted about 9 degrees to the left. And we interact. We're not doing it right now. We are on a different level with our voices, with the knowledge that we're sharing with each other. We're resonating. But if we were actually in the room, we would also be sharing that biosphere, I think is the correct term. And this can be measured. And gifted Reiki practitioners can actually control this energy, and can work with it and can work with a client. And it is very similar. They actually have measured a lot of these Reiki practitioners from China and Japan, where these sort of things never went out. This ancestral wisdom is still practiced, and anyone that's worked overseas there, I'm sure that you have, knows this. It is more in the spiritual world. It is more in the feeling, and they're just more in touch with their senses. You work in Southeast Asia. Everyone is touching each other constantly. They're giving each other head rubs and neck rubs while I was working with them as a consultant, and you would never get that in the West. I've never seen it. At least it would be unusual, but there it's normal. And what they're doing is they're not just touching, but they're actually, I suppose, it's a form of Reiki, because we all emit this. Some people, I believe, are more skilled and their energy shines brighter and they have control over it, and therefore they can help people. But yes, it's definitely a thing. It's definitely associated. And they work on different levels in terms of the intensity that you have. And these top Reiki masters, I believe they've been measured at around 1 to 2 Gauss. The Earth, as you mentioned, the 7.83 hertz, is
Mhm.
commonly known as the dominant Schumann resonance. Again,
Yeah,
after
the
another
Schumann resonance.
clever
Yeah.
guy who he actually was the first person to measure the main frequency coming out of the Earth. You might describe this as the heartbeat of the Earth. What causes it? Lightning strikes to the Earth. The Earth is struck, this is high voltage, every day by around 7 to 8 million times a day. It's a crazy number when we think about it. And this charges the core of the Earth, and via the ionosphere, the bit in between, then the Earth emits this electromagnetic pulse, a low frequency, which when we connect with it, good but subtle things happen. Now, we've always walked and slept and lived in and on the Earth. I'm in the second floor here, in a room with a window shut, with artificial lighting. So I'm not exposed to it like my grandfather was, my grandparents were, my great grandparents, and every other generation. And we've been asked to change very, very quickly. And quite simply, we're resilient, really resilient, but not that resilient.
Mm.
So it is linked. All of it is linked from the
Yeah, I mean,
scientific side of it. But I've also seen it with people that work with it as well, like you have.
yeah, no, thank you for that. And obviously, what I've heard as well is that, I mean, particularly for the grandmasters, I mean, it's very much linked to spirituality. You cannot reach a high level if you're pineal gland is not open if you don't have the connection to the universe, because there's ethics as well, because obviously Reiki, it could be used or abused, but the top practitioners, they have to be pure, and this is and actually about this, and just one question, if I may, Pete. Am I correct in saying that Nikola Tesla had started working on something similar, I mean, on machines, to give energy to people because obviously for him, I love the quote which says, if you want to understand the secret of the universe, think in terms of energy, vibration, and frequency. So I would like to get your take on that, Peter.
Thank you, Daniel. I think you already have it. We're very aligned as. Yes, he first theorized about Nikolai Tesla, obviously a visionary, a genius. Most people these days know him for a brand, but or know the name as a brand, but obviously the brand name was chosen from Nikolai Tesla, who he was a visionary. Not everything that he theorized actually worked or came true, but most of what he did appeared to, and he was way ahead of his time. And he was the first person, I think, in modern scientific terms, that theorized about various different modalities, let's call them nature machines, technology that can amplify. He was very much into nature. You mentioned the term the universe as well. We have to tap in to what is around us and be conscious of that energy that is much bigger than us, that will go on, went on before us and will go on long afterwards. And he was very aware of this. And I love the quote that you have, it's word perfect. And then latterly, Einstein, other visionaries and geniuses, Einstein theorized, and people like Rife, which is a slightly different technology, but he brought out a Rife machine. This was a few decades later, and they took these energetic technologies whereby we can recreate machines that can recreate nature in a very meaningful way. I mean, who can go live in a cave these days or go camping for, a year? When we live in the outdoors, we feel better. And I suppose this is what Tesla was talking about, because even then we were not living, how our bodies have evolved to live. We were living indoors. We were starting to eat perhaps foods that were not food. We were starting to, the invention of, windows and glass and heating devices and electrical lighting meant that hey, it's dark, we can stay up. Well, we're meant to kind of go to bed when it gets dark and wake up when it gets light. And that varies depending on time of year and what the weather's doing in a particular day. And all of a sudden, this has changed. And I suppose this is what Tesla and Einstein and other visionaries, there's another one that springs to mind would be Linus Pauling, Dr. Linus Pauling. Dr. Pauling he passed away about 5 years ago. At a good age. He was in his late 70s, early 80s, I believe. He won 2 Nobel Prizes, one of 6 Nobel Prize winners ever to win 2 for his work. And he was a big fan of PEMF. So I'll speak specifically now about PEMF. And I'll try and quote him directly. He said, PEMF is a benefit to mankind, infant to geriatric. It will change the paradigm of medicine. He was a smart guy. I'm not going to disagree with him. He won 2 very legitimate Nobel Prizes, which puts him in an extremely rare subset, not just 1, but 2. And that's what he said. Now, maybe it will, maybe it won't. I don't know. But what we're talking about here and what Tesla knew was that there was something bigger than us, and probably also knew that we were starting to, I suppose once we started to settle going back a few thousand years ago, and life became more easy. And like anything in nature, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. You know, that hormetic effect of exercise or getting hot and getting cold. And as long as it's not too extreme, we survive and we become stronger. Life started becoming easier when we started to settle. Life is very easy now. It's actually very hard, because it's hard to pull yourself out of that comfortable situation. I sauna most days. Yeah, it's uncomfortable, but there's something good about it.
Mhm.
I live in Lancaster at the moment. Just 150 meters away is the remains of a Roman sauna on the castle remains.
Wow.
Before it was a English castle, it was two Roman forts.
Uh-huh.
The forts have gone, but the sauna remains. It was built to last. Now, sauna's never gone out in various parts of the world or cultures, and we're just rediscovering it now in the West and saying, hey, this is really good for you. Well, it's something that within reason, if we use it sensibly, stimulates, it's uncomfortable, and it makes us stronger. They didn't know about the science behind it. They didn't know about heat and cold shock proteins. They didn't know about how it stimulates Krebs cycle, to a lesser extent PEMF, but it still does. They didn't know, they just knew instinctively from ancestral wisdom that it worked. So it's a fascinating subject that you're asking big questions.
No,
That's
well,
just my take on it.
because you see, Peter, as you know, I resonate so much with that. I mean, first, of course, so much we learn from nature. Already the connection, and we all connected, we're connected. I mean, obviously, then we perhaps will go to a different level, but for me, everybody is connected, people, animals, plants. And when we are there, I mean, as you said, first, if we walk barefoot, yes,
Mm,
we get the energy from the earth already. This is, I mean, this. And then there's all this, we're talking about, for instance, walking, having the air and the sun, the vitamin D, it comes from the sun. I mean, and now you mentioned, for instance, so yeah, first, the importance of going for a walk every day if possible. I mean, this is it calms down the total level, the mind.
mm,
Now you're talking about saunas. I mean, when you see how they are used in Finland, in Norway, in Sweden. I mean, it's part of life, and they're going, and people have them in their house. And sometimes, if they live next to a lake, they would go to the sauna and plunge into the cold water. And this is like regenerating the cells. I mean, that's so good. And people do it at all ages. And when you see how good they are in terms of physical health, yes. So, thank you for reminding us that everything which is around, ancestral knowledge. There's so much in there. I mean, people knew, yeah, they knew how to do it. Now we change the way we live with all the consequences it has. So it's a great reminder. And I have a question. I mean, it's because again, something which resonates with me. See, I used to be a perfectionist. I used to be an overthinker, big time, and very much in my head. And when I transformed a few years ago, and I really decided to let go, to surrender, I would say, to the universe and to follow my heart and my intuition, my life changed completely. And it's why now, I'm a mental fitness coach. I help people who deal with, the saboteurs and things which are holding them back. And I help them going into the deeper self, the sage mode where they are their true authentic self. So I'd like your take on that, Peter, in terms of, this living, I would say, fully authentically.
wow, that's a great question. I love talking with you, Daniel. um, it's a big question. Um, I love what you've just said. I love what you went through and how you realized that shift in you, and how you now use that to support others. Um, for me, my take was I
Mhm.
saw it in others. I
Yeah.
didn't see it in myself.
Mhm.
So I've been, I suppose, wrestling with this. What's going on? For definitely a few years, probably a few decades. You need energy for anything. Somehow, you got some energy in your life to see the big picture, to tap into natural energy, universal energy, a state of higher consciousness, should we say?
Mhm.
Um, and you started to see things with clarity for yourself and for others.
Mhm.
I saw it in others. I've used the word, I think, inflammation earlier. When inflammation goes, clarity comes. When inflammation goes, energy comes. You need energy to quell inflammation, or you need to remove those things within your environment which are causing inflammation. The challenge these days is, what are those things? So what we do, what we're probably good at, is quickly identifying them, communicating them appropriately, whether it's a PhD or a plasterer, and explaining in their terms what we might be doing, but staying very much in our wellness lane,
Mhm.
and working with them. And in myself, it took a while because I'm my own biggest enemy. Because am I a perfectionist? Have I been? Yes. I think we share a lot in common. Sometimes, though, I think our personality type. Belbin would call me an INTJ. So, but I'm a rare one because I don't just think about things and architect something. I actually build it. So you have to give something a lot of thought. So you try and avoid making mistakes, learn from the mistakes that you make, which is a great problem to have, but you don't want to replicate your mistakes.
Mhm.
Fortunately, we seem to hit the mark, and I got results. People wanted them. I followed my gut. So I had to get out. I've used that term earlier. I had to get out my own way and build something, whether I thought it would fail or not. I saw it in others every
Mhm.
day, all day. I saw it yesterday working with clients at one of our studios. Both of them, by the way, worked in the medical space, and they were so open to what we do. Um, it was inspiring, really, because I think we all know we can all work together and derive better results for ourselves and also, in our sense, our clients, and for them, their patients. But for me, it was getting out of my own way and saying, okay, the evidence is undeniable.
Yes.
Keep reflecting, but then keep moving forward and trusting your gut. And that's, I suppose, it's I'm kind of leapfrogging these positions. It's like, okay, we've got something, then it being challenged, and then reframing it and examining the evidence. What I've typically found is it always, for me, comes back to that center place, which is trust yourself, trust your gut, trust your intuition, as you said. And when I do that, I've never actually, and I've given this a lot of thought, I've never actually found the wrong outcome, uh, has happened. When I've gone against that, it invariably does. So that's my take on it.
Thank you so much, Pita. And again, I resonate so much. And now, you see, at least my advice to everyone listening is your intuition is something which is very deep in you. People sometimes they talk about the sixth sense. Why? Because you've got the five physical sense, which we know, but the sixth sense, it's kind of put it all together and put it, in a good manner so that really it knows what's important for you. So listen to that because when you discard it, and I've done it, no, it's all right. No, no, no. I'll use my head, and you realize afterwards that we knew. So Peter, it's been fascinating, and I'm sure we'll have another a session like this. But thank you so much for your wisdom, and I mean, it's wonderful. So for our audience, if you had like one tip or something you really a message you would like to get across today, what would it be?
Mm. Thank you, Daniel, and thank you for your wisdom and your time and foresight as well. It really inspires me. It really does, and the work that you do. I'm going to double down on the intuition. We work on helping people heal themselves. Um, in addition to everything else that is of benefit, and that's Western and not allopathic and alternative. What they feel works. Talk to your doctor. Do what more of makes you feel good. I didn't do this. I outsourced my intuition. Energy is a foundation of everything.
Mhm.
When you reclaim your energy, true energy, everything else good follows. And that really would be my overwhelming message. We do it through hydration and then modulating that hydration in a big nature with a big nature machine,
Mhm.
and big things happen. But be around the right people, be in nature. Healing starts when you stop outsourcing your intuition. That's the message I would say.
Well, thank you so much. Such a powerful message, Peter. And when people want to contact you, what's the best way? And if they're intrigued and they would like to use, the services and this machine. So what's the best way?
Oh, thank you. Well, we have various studios across the UK, and our optimal hydration products available to anyone on our website. So I'll give you the web addresses first. So we have on the internet we would have pemfit.co.uk.
PEMFIT, huh?
Yes, that's
PEMF.
PEMFIT. You'll maybe
Yes,
put
thank
the
you.
address in the show notes. We have optimalhydration.co.uk. I'm actually going to offer your listeners a discount code if they wish to have any electrolytes or machines that make just clean water that's full of electrolytes in a good ratio, all natural product. And then on Instagram, people can find us on PEMFIT UK. They can find us on Optimal Hydration Ltd, Optimal Hydration Limited, or they can find me on @Pita Marroni. Again, you'll probably put that in the show notes, the spelling. Or I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn as well. If anyone wanted to contact me through the business platform of LinkedIn, just put my name in, Pita Marroni, and you'll find me. And yeah, thank you very much for having me on, and your audience for listening. And yeah, I think we have scratched the surface really of what we can discuss. So anytime if you do want a part two, I'd be very happy. Thanks, Daniel.
Well, thank you so much. Obviously, all the details, as you said, will be in the show notes. So everybody can, will be able to see this as well with thank you for the offer for our audience. And thank you for your time, Peter. It was absolutely fantastic. And well, you see, everybody, and thank you for all listeners and the audience to be with us, for being with us. And I think you got something very exceptional today. So just make sure that, whatever resonates with you, follow your intuition and go for it.
Thank you, Daniel. I really appreciate that. I'll follow your very good advice. Thank you.
Thank you and bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Bye bye, the peoples.